And when we are spending time with self, like you talked about, in my mind, we're strengthening our root system, right? We're digging our roots deeper and deeper into the ground. It's gonna help us stay in all this outward stuff that comes to us from the world. And like you said, you don't want to go and add stuff to what's coming against you from the world anyway. Because sometimes, so this could be a whole nother episode, sometimes everything is okay. There ain't nothing wrong with it. Sometimes everything is exactly how it's supposed to be. Let it be, right? Because we'll have those times where we, oh Lord, but in my life, something always come up, let me look for it. No. Be okay. Spend time being okay. Trust me. Balance is a law that cannot be transgressed. So for all the good days you have and all the stuff that's going good, it's going to be something meant for bad that's going to come to you. Don't worry about it. It's coming. You ain't got to focus on it though. And you don't have to, again, I'm going to repeat this. You don't have to play that comparison game, right? And if your roots are strengthened, right, this is why you don't play the comparison game, right? You're looking at everybody else and you thinking, man, them trees tall and nice and they standing strong right now and they're thriving, right? And I'm not. I'm leaning, right? Because you're playing the comparison game and you're looking at them. It's an old African proverb that says the leaning tree is not always the first to fall, right? And in fact, most of the time, if a tree's leaning, the only thing holding it up is the root system. His root system probably going a few miles, right? Because some tried to knock it down, but it's still upright, right? And what you'll notice is if you are really into self, those trees that you thought was thriving, sometimes they'll call you and need you, right? Because you're looking at it on the internet and you're thinking, man, everything was great, but that's just what they want to put off to you, right? They want to put off that everything's good, but a lot of times it ain't. A lot of times it ain't all what you think it is, right? That's why it's extremely important. You won't know one way or another. That's why it's so important to just be extremely sure about self. Be extremely aware of what's going on in your world and what you need and strengthening your roots, right? Not nobody else's. Build your foundation, right? Make sure you're standing on something solid. Build your hopes on things eternal. And understand just how important you are to your world, right? You're the most important thing in it. Because it don't exist without you.
Welcome to the Cypher. Flow harder than the hands on Peter Piper. And now we would like to introduce you to your rivals. It's like Ali and Tyson. The hook miss with the liking. Show nothing, Mr. Bison. Maximus and Leonidas. You were in the booth with Titans. Goons, goblins, and Vikings. It ain't really nothing like us.
Yo, welcome back to another episode of the Lit Code, the podcast where the menu is short and sweet, but there's plenty for your mind to eat. I am Cortney Anderson, and that's my compadre, Mr. Edgar Jones, aka him. We're back at it again with another episode, man. We want to thank y'all as always for tuning in, for listening, for watching. Those of you who share, who like, who comment, who follow us, man, we appreciate y'all wholeheartedly because, as I always say, without y'all, it's just us talking. You know what I'm saying? It's no such thing as a Lit Code. We got a lot of stuff coming up, man, a lot of stuff we're trying to do. We're trying to grow, of course, on YouTube and Facebook and all over the place, man, all platforms on the audio side and on the visual side. We're attempting to start speaking engagements, both via Zoom and in person. So we'll be putting out some info on that, in due time and kind of letting you guys know how to contact us, what our packages look like, and different stuff we're trying to do. I mean, that goes for businesses, for schools, for individuals, for whoever. We're just trying to put the word out there, help who we can help, motivate who we can motivate, man, and give y'all some of this stuff that God and the universe places in our minds and hearts to say and to put out there. Now, the past couple of weeks, we've had some pretty interesting, pretty affluent guests on, both of former NFL players. Both of them brought interesting stories and perspectives to the Lit Code, man. And so we're gonna kind of recap on a lot of the stuff that came up during those conversations, which gave us more topics. That's usually what happens with us anyway. We're talking about something. Egg and I like to call it the rabbit hole or the trimmer hole. Once you go down that hole, those subjects starts to branch off, and you have so many more subjects that you can kind of touch on. Now, our first guest was Robert McCune, aka Swole. And in his story, what I took from it was he figured out early on how to murder his victim role. So a lot of adversity awaited him in his life from a young age and on up, and he had some adversity he has to fight right now. But what he did was ran into it, met it head on, and never looked at himself as a victim. That helped him to get to the point where he is now. On DJ's side, which is Derrick Johnson, he was highly touted out of school, right? He was one of those guys that was a big time recruit, played at a big time college, went big time in the draft, right? And then after year 4, he hits this wall of adversity. And what I kind of got from him was there was more work for him to do at the top, right? So even though he made it to this certain level, he figured out that making it wasn't the end. And I think a lot of us get confused with that. We say we want to start a business, right? And you finally start that business. You go through all the work of starting it. You go through the grassroots level of building it. You got it built, and now your customer base is where you want it, right? You got 100, 200 customers that are valuable, consistent customers, right? And in your mind, you're making this money, and you think that's it. Well, no, it's not. It's actually more work to keep those customers than it was to actually get to that point. Now, it may not feel like work because you may be on autopilot, but comfort, to me, is that big cancer that comes and grabs you once you've materialized the dream, right? You had that dream, you saw that dream to fruition, you're in the middle of it. Part of you wants to say, shit, I'm here. I got it now. And that, right, if you want to grow, Edgar brought something up in the last episode. He talked about reaching a goal versus a growth plan, right? So if you're an ambitious person, if you're a person that wishes to keep evolving, well, okay, I reached the goal, but now how am I going to grow in that goal, right? How am I going to keep this moving forward? Because you always want stuff to get better. I've never seen anybody hoping something gets worse, right? You usually want to get better. So in order for it to get better, there'll be more work involved in it getting better. I even liken it to the way a mountain is made, right? It's more room at the base, more surface area at the base. The higher you go, the steeper it gets, the less and less room you have when you get to that peak. That's the least amount of real estate, right? So now you got to work to stay up there, and it's more mental work than physical work, because if you slip now at the top, well, gravity gonna work on you, and the way that mountain made is you come down way faster and harder than you go up, right? So those are 2 topics we want to kind of hit on today. Again, thank y'all for tuning in. Pass it off to Mr. Jones.
Yeah, appreciate it. Man, it's always good to be able to speak and get a chance to be able to chat and talk. First of all, with you here, Conrad, like this, I mean, we do this pretty much every single day, but to be able to have, people that come from different walks of life, for them to be able to come on and speak and chat, and more importantly, share their story. I know for me, man, I just want to, I would like for as much as y'all possibly can to continue to just give us that feedback. I like to hear, on how the Lit Code has helped you out, your testimony, and more importantly, just hear what some other things y'all had thought about that you may want to hear us speak about. Now we may or may not speak about it, but I think it's always good, and we try to always gauge. And that's the topic right there, gauge. Look at your gauges. Gauge our crowd, man, and like to, get a feel for potentially what some things that people are dealing with and what they want to hear us talk about. And like I said, we may chat about it, we may not, but it's always good to hear from y'all, because we're in it. We in it, and we speaking and we talking. But from the outside looking in, y'all may see it from a whole different way. So first, I want to say thank you, and we appreciate it. And then, in references towards DJ and Swole coming on, aka Robert McCune, man, it was good for them to come on because it ain't no different from you sharing your story, Court, me sharing my story, and other people that shared their story. A lot of times we look at people and we just assume that they didn't have to work or there was no challenges that they had to really deal with to get to the point they got to. And to hear those two individuals share their story, it was some things for me to reflect on. It took me back on some things I actually forgot about. And two, like I've been in the locker room with both those guys. And Robert was actually one of my roommates doing training camp. And to be able to really grow in our relationship with each other, to see like how he came in fighting really for everything in the league. And I knew a little bit about his history before he got into the league, but watch him physically and mentally fight for every single thing he had while he was in the league. But then to be able to put that in the platform for people to be able to hear that story and for him to talk about it as adversity and things he had to go through, I just think that's powerful. And even from DJ, his journey was different. DJ journey was a little bit more different as far as high school, middle school, high school, and going to college, and even when he got to the league. But one thing that DJ said, a couple things DJ said, but one thing that really I grabbed is when DJ talked about looking at people that came into the league that was undrafted and seeing how hard they worked. And for him to have that perspective to say, man, I got to even work harder. Now, this is a guy that was a first-round pick who had made multi-millions of dollars as a rookie. But even as he got that, he still had the right mindset to say, I got to keep working. As a matter of fact, I have to work harder. And that was always who DJ was. That's what I always respected about him. And then more important, the man that he was and how he carried out his life and how he just treated people. And I actually, too, how he was willing to show his scars and talk about the mistakes he made as well as a man. Swole did that and DJ did that. And I think that's important in life to have a place, and find that time and be able to open up and chat about, some things you battle with and deal with, because there's a lot of strength in that. So to hear him talk like that, and more important, to see just the guy that he was, how much he worked for somebody that was given so much at an early stage of his life. He was not a stranger to work ethic. And it just, it was cool, man, to hear both of them and hear both of them chat and come from different walks of life. But adversity is still adversity, at the end of the day. A challenge is still a challenge. And more importantly, what I took out of both of them also was just the perspective. I feel like perspective is something that I've been hearing. We talk about it a lot, but lately, over the past, 3 weeks, perspective is something I've been hearing somebody else say, or I sit there and I think about it. And at the end of the day, we all got our different perspectives. How we look at every single thing in life. There's our perspective on how we look at it, especially when it comes to your different experiences, our different experiences that we've had. But at the end of the day, each person has a different perspective. But we also have our blinders as well. You know what I'm saying? We have our blinders, and we also have things that we're missing. So when you're able to talk to people, and more importantly, let me rephrase that, when you're able to listen to people, and listen to their story, listen to what they have to say, and you're not always going to agree, but you can listen to what they're talking about and giving them a chance to share their story. It gives you a chance to see things from a different perspective, whether it's right or wrong, but that's that person's perspective. And it's, I have found by me doing that, it's just starting to open up my eyes to individuals that come from different walks of life, man, with different experiences, different backgrounds, different upbringings. Because if I'm not getting that perspective and I'm not having conversations, then I'm only just solely looking at things out of my eyes. And to my point again, we all have different perspectives, but we also got different blind spots as well. So, man, these past, 2 weeks, really everybody that's came onto this podcast, man, it's always been something, a little nugget I could take. And these past 2 weeks, those two gentlemen that came on, that was powerful, man, to listen to them. And I would actually, if y'all haven't had a chance to, just go back and go check it out. Go listen to both of them. I know Swole's episode went a little bit longer, but it was good stuff. It was good. It was good content. And then look at what he's dealing with right now and how he's still having the right mindset on how he's facing the situation that he's currently facing right now. But if you haven't checked it out, go back and check it out. DJ's episode dropped. I think it's already out. And Robert's episode, it dropped today. Okay. And then Robert's episode dropped last week. But that's the focus of being able to have more people come on that just come from different upbringings, different walks of life. But more importantly, individuals that's just trying to be a better version of themselves. They're not into the pointing the finger. They just trying to figure out the who they are and trying to reflect on how they can become better and what they can do. And I think that's critical for, anything we do in life is to first just look at self first. And then from there, I can continue to scan outside of that. But first I need to do some searching inside myself, man. But it's been good, dude. Working on some things right now, like Court said, with the podcast. And it's just been a great ride. It's been this has been fruitful for me because me being able to chat and talk with y'all and laugh and have a good time, but also being able to reflect. And then more importantly, being able to hear from y'all on how much this has had a huge impact on y'all. You can't put a dollar on that. You can't put a price on that. You can't put a price on that at all. So we appreciate y'all because this podcast wouldn't be possible if y'all were not checking it out.
Absolutely. Your perspective is probably the only thing you really truly own and will own forever. Because everything else can be taken away. Even body parts and limbs. You see elderly people lose them all the time, maybe they're diabetic and they gotta get their foot cut off. You probably thought you was gonna own their foot forever. It wasn't really yours, right? Your health and strength, the strength you got right now, you'll get weaker with time. Your mental capacity might go, but your perspective, even in death, because we don't know what happens in death, right? We think we know, but even that, it would be your own personal perspective, right? If it's 7 billion people on this earth, you got 7 billion different perspectives. I like to call them worlds that actually exist and coexist, right? If it's a few 100 billion ants on this earth, those ants have their very own perspectives, right? If me and Edgar standing here looking at the exact same thing, our perspective will still be different, right? We still gonna notice certain things maybe that the other one didn't notice. Your perspective is one of the most important things in this world. And it's usually the reason a lot of us don't get along, because we fail to respect the perspective of others, right? So I see it and I'm a headstrong individual and I feel like I'm right. Then when somebody else comes along and challenges that, if I don't respect their perspective, then I'm just gonna hold on to what I see, right? And I'm the one that's right and you wrong. And both of us could be right, because they had their perspective too, and they see something. But our egos and other things, pride sometimes won't allow us to see someone else's perspective. So it is always good to have people on and to get these different stories, for them to tell their stories. I think that's a testament to these last two guests, right? Swole and DJ. Edgar, I think it's a testament to you. Right, because all you had to do was make a call and they came on, but let's just think about both professional athletes, ex-professional athletes, right? But let's think about how different those two people are. but the fact that both of them gravitated to you based on something you did, something you showed them, because y'all all been out of the league for a while, right? So, it's people we grew up with, we've been knowing 20, 30 years. We don't talk to them enough to be able to get them to come on here. You see what I'm saying? So that's a testament to whatever you was doing then, whether it was on the field or off the field, something that you were doing, they gravitated to. They saw it. DJ talked about how you would run into that guard when you was playing in and they pulled around. You know what I'm saying? That infectious, let me get up and go. That meet it head on, how that kind of went viral with everybody there. And he also, both you and him also talked about how they probably backfired on you as far as staying in Kansas City, but everybody knew it. They could see it, right? And something about that made them gravitate towards you. Because you think about it, it's not like in your career, you was ever just that guy. Like if ESPN was visiting the team, we got to go see Edgar Jones. But in that locker room and to those people, you were. You see what I'm saying? If you wasn't, we wouldn't be able to just make these calls and get these guys on the podcast. Or I'll tell the story again about me meeting Ray Lewis for the first time in my life, right? Through Edgar. He wasn't even on the same team with him no more. And I was standing there. First of all, I'm standing there and met Ed Reed. Standing there, Joe Flacco comes out. He like, what's up, mother? That's what he told Edgar as soon as he came out. I'm looking like, that ain't Joe Flacco, about 6'6", 6'7". And then Wes was out there at the time, and there was a couple more guys from the Ravens standing there. And then Ray was over here to the side, and it was like 200 people. It was a busload of people, matter of fact, came to see Ray. I don't know if you remember that. So it was a whole busload of people there, and we kind of waited it out. And then he was finally kind of by himself. We walked around, and Edgar grabbed him. When he turned around and saw Edgar, he hugged him and embraced him. And Edgar introduced my daddy, and Ray said, "Man, Uncle Boy, I heard a bunch about you." I'm saying that to say, you were like, again, it wasn't like you was this Pro Bowl Hall of Fame type cat, but those cats respected you as such, right? So it was something you was putting out for them to be able to gravitate to you like that. I just wanted to give you your flowers on that, because it's other people we had coming up that you'll be able to reach out to based on what you was doing back then. Just being you though, just being you, being there for people, coming to work every day, working hard, not backing down from nothing, has bled over, right? Because now we're talking about decades in as far as the relationships you got with these guys, because you've been out of the league a minute, right? And you met these guys a minute ago, you know what I'm saying? So for you to still be able to just up and call them, that's a testament to you. But DJ, right? Him having to work at the top like that reminds me of some more cats, a few more names that I think of when you talk about top of the food chain, top of the food chain right now. Elon Musk, right? Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, right? Those cats are still getting up every day trying to figure out how to make something else, right? Not necessarily money at this point. They got more money than they'll ever be able to do anything with. We're talking hundreds of billions of dollars, right? But just think about that. They still get up every day working, right? Working toward this next thing. And it's something that I like to go back to. I think it's because they're chasing greatness. That's what they're in pursuit of. It's not necessarily trophies and money. It's greatness. Same thing you was pursuing, right? Same thing DJ ultimately was pursuing. Swole was pursuing. What most people pursuing is greatness. Or they have to learn how to pursue greatness, even if they start off pursuing these trophies, right? And usually trophies, money or the houses, the cars, whatever. But you can attain all that, right? And when you got it, then what? You know what I'm saying? What is there? What's going to be pushing you from there? It's usually going to be hunger, right? So it's one of my breakfast posts a while ago. I told the story about my great grandfather, should be my daddy's daddy, my daddy's granddaddy, right? He didn't do nothing but hunt and fish. That's what he did. Probably where we get that from. Edgar. That would have been grandma's daddy. He was a hunter and fisherman. That's what he did. He'd go out night and day, get as much game and fish as he could, and he used that to get money he'd barter or sell to other people in the community. Or if somebody had hogs up the street or cattle or whatever, he'd trade off, deer meat for beef or whatever. And so my daddy said he used to always like help him clean stuff and watch him, clean these animals. He'd go out and hunt deer. And sometimes he came back, be all those, but sometimes Dad said he'll come back, it'd be 3 or 4 huge bucks. You know what I'm saying? And, he used to go to the feed store with his granddaddy too. And at the feed store, the guy that owned it had all these mounts on the wall, right? And my daddy used to always like to look at those mounts, like, you just marvel at them. I used to do the same thing going to the feed store with my dad. I'm sure you do anywhere you go, you see a nice mount, it's something to sit there and behold, like, man, that's nice. But he said he'd see his granddaddy kill bucks bigger than the mounts on the wall, but he'd do the same thing with them. Cut the head off, haul it off, right? Never kept in it. And so one day after they left the feed store, my dad decided to ask him, why he didn't keep any mounts. And my granddaddy told him, well, my great-grandfather told him, boy, the mounts are just trophies for them people, for everybody else to see. He said, what I'm hunting for is meat. So you, your sisters, your mama can eat, right? I ain't hunting no trophies. Now, while I'm hunting for meat, every once in a while I kill a trophy, right? But mainly what I'm hunting for is just that, the meat. I like to think of the meat as greatness. And while you chasing after greatness, you'll always run across trophies, always. But what that pursuit of greatness is going to do is keep the one thing that everything in this world has been built off of for man is hunger, right? The nomads, they traveled across continents in pursuit of food and water, right? We hungry. It wasn't no Ferraris or mansions and all that stuff at the time that they could have been buying. They simply got up. They had women and children back at the camp that were hungry, and these men gonna go out and we're gonna hunt some food and bring it back to you. Could care less about a trophy, right? Matter of fact, back then they used the antlers for weapons. Everything off an animal, they used it, right? And even when they caught fish, sometimes the part of the fish they didn't eat, they would actually bury it when they planted a crop, so for fertilizer. So every little thing got used in, but they were getting driven off of hunger, right? We need to try to formulate that same thing in our mind. Trophies are nice, they cool, but damn the trophies, right? Back then, you was hunting meat. You've been getting trophies lately, right? They induct you to the Hall of Fame. People want you to come work for them, all this stuff. But the whole time, you just been pursuing greatness, right? Let me get here. I'm sure you had a vision of what the league was when we were younger. You know what I'm saying? You working, you jumping on that box, cutting your legs up, running with that parachute, right? Not going out, missing stuff because you want to work on getting there. But when you got to the league, you figured out pretty quick, all right, I got here, that's the goal, I'm here. That ain't it, because I got to stay. And I got to make the team every year. And I got to try to make something out of this since I'm here, right? So I don't want anybody to get that stuck in your head that the goal is the end. It's not, right? We like to say, reach a goal, celebrate it, pick up the finish line, throw it in front of you. Keep going. Trophies will come. Money will come. This podcast, for instance, we ain't getting paid for none of this. Everything we're doing right now on this podcast coming out, we pay for it to happen, right? We're not getting paid for it, but that's not what we're chasing. We're chasing greatness. We want to be as great as we can be, the greatest forms of us we can be, and motivating other people and putting the message out to other people, right? And helping people go forward in this world, because this world is getting pretty crazy, right? Making people understand how important self is. That's our goal, right? And then in the process, trophies gonna come. We're aware of that. That's coming, but that ain't what we're chasing. And I think it's an old hymn, it's an old church song. Build your hopes on things eternal, right? Because if you build them on perishable stuff, when that stuff perishes, so will your hope, right? So you can't build it on that. The foundation needs to be set on something that's eternal. So set it on greatness. I'm gonna be the Coach Brian used to say, if you're gonna shoot marbles, be the best damn marble shooter this side of the Mississippi River. So I always say stuff that's like that. If you're gonna be a flow mopper, be able to see yourself every time you mop that flow. That's what you need to chase out. Being great, the greatest form of you, and understand that when you reach goals, it's still gonna be more work with them, right? So don't fool yourself. That way you won't be disappointed. Still gonna be some work involved, but that's what you asked for. That's what you want, and work builds everything that you wanted anyway. So just remember that.
Man, I'll just add on to what you just said. Appreciate you for the flowers, bro, because now I pass your flowers back, man, because, you know, the husband you are, the father you are, the friend you to are so many people, and being able to help people out, man, go above and beyond, dude. We don't see that a lot more. We don't see that a lot these days. So, man, your support and your advice, and just you being there for me, bro. You know, a lot of times, I appreciate it, man. I just say a lot of times. So, now I'll just add to what you're saying, dude. This, because at the end of the day, right, I just recap and go back to, you know, because now I'm thinking about it. It has been a nice little minute since I've been out of the league, because I really don't think about it that much, because I'm so busy with other things. But sometimes I recap on it and I think about it when it comes to particularly more now my job and what I do. It's all about leadership and coaching. So I usually try to go back and think about my experiences. And then I talk to other people I played with and coach me. They usually give me some good advice as well, who I really respect. But I'll say this, that for me, in the pursuit of me chasing greatness, I abandoned not checking my gauges, you know, because I was so focused on, you know, hitting that next level and getting to the league and getting that contract and playing for a certain amount of years, which was played a big part of my life. And I had to give a lot of attention to whatever the task was at hand at that moment in time. But also, too, what I would say is, for me personally, and Court, I know you can add to this as well, you know what I'm saying, that I just think it's important, man, to check your gauges, regardless on how nice the trophy looks, regardless on how nice, whatever. I mean, you think about a car, right? Regardless on how it looks exterior-wise on the outside of it, I still got to make sure I'm checking to see what my fuel level is. And even if I got me a Tesla or something that's solar, I got to still charge the battery, you know. If there's a light that blinks, a check engine light, right? Like, I need to pay attention to that. I need to go deal with that. Or if it's the tire pressure that comes on, I need to go deal with that. And we give a lot of attention to the material things when something is going wrong, a car or a laptop or a cell phone, because we're quick to get it fixed when something ain't working how we don't want it to work, or something happens with it, but we abandon ourselves. So throughout this journey in life, and as we continue to keep going, just being honest with yourself, and checking your gauges, and being able to have that feedback from somebody that's going to give you honest feedback on what they see and what they observe, because there's some things you're missing. But none of that matters if you're not checking your gauges, because if I'm abandoning the warning signs that I'm getting, if I'm abandoning internally what's going on, then eventually that and what's going on will come out. There's no way to get around that. There's no way to get around that. And for a long time, I was abandoning my gauges, man, you know, of what I saw, how I was feeling. I'm like, oh, man, ain't no big problem. I can play through it, or I can deal with that. Or whether it was my anger, whether it was my addiction, you know what I'm saying? I just didn't deal with a lot of those things. But now I'm dealing with it. And I just think, and I know in this journey that we're all on, it's important to check our gauges. It goes back to the self-awareness and me being able to observe myself and look inside to see what am I doing, how am I acting, and more importantly, what can I improve on. I go back to, film when we used to watch. We watch film a lot. We watch film a lot, man. We play football. We watch so much damn football film, man. I used to get tired of watching film. But, in the sports world, when you're watching film, it is to look at, what an offense is doing or a defense is doing as far as their formations and their tendencies. But the most important thing about watching film is you're doing the self-awareness of yourself. You're just watching yourself, you're observing yourself, and you're saying, like, how can I improve? What do I struggle with? Like, what do I need to improve on? And that's the direction that I have constantly been trying to move in a direction I've been trying to move a lot more in my life, because I know I'm raggedy. I got some work, man. I'm constantly trying to do, and if I'm not constantly in that state of mind of the self-evaluation on myself and checking out what am I doing, then I can start to act another way and do certain things, So now we're in a world where we're paying attention to everything else everybody is doing, right? Pick up your phone, you scroll, you look at what your friends doing, you look at where they're going, you look at what they got on, then you get on YouTube, you looking at what this person doing. Then maybe you get into maybe something on TV, right? You paying attention to this show, you looking at what they're doing, but we give so much, and you only have so much time in a day. So if I'm constantly paying attention to what everybody else is doing, then it's impossible, and it's very hard for me to observe and watch myself, man. And I saw this the other day. Somebody said this, that it said a Big Mac doesn't cost $3.99. A Big Mac doesn't cost $3.99. It costs your health. Netflix doesn't cost $17.99. It costs your time. Social media isn't free. It costs your focus, and there's always a hidden cost. So there's always a cost for every single thing I'm doing. So whatever you putting your energy into, and whatever time you're giving to something, like, what is it taking away from? Is it taking me further away from who God called me to be and created me to be, or is it bringing me more in tune with myself? We talked about this before we start recording. Man, I'm 75 days sober, bro. No drink. I decided I was just gonna stop. And in these 75 days, man, there's been a lot of things that's been revealed to me, just about myself, more importantly, how I need to continue to improve, the things I need to improve on, and what I pruned away of that battle with alcohol, right? Now I've traded off for more time when it comes to my prayer life, when it comes to my worship life, when it comes to spending time with my family. And more importantly, I ain't waking up with no headache. Like I ain't trying to work out just to work out alcohol. You know what I'm saying? And I think about this from a standpoint of, I always go back to paying attention and watching kids. A kid in their natural state is they're operating in their soul spirit of just who they are. No substance, no drink, no pill, nothing, right? They just solely operating out of a place of who they are. Then through the course of life, as we get older, we have different experiences, different things happen. And before you know it, that one may turn to 2, turn to 3, 3 turn to 8, and we start using that to cope with and deal with some of the things we was dealing with. And personally, for my story, I used substances to cope with what I was dealing with internally, my battles. And now I really wanted to see, like, and tap back into, like, what sober living looked like, Now, maybe I didn't drink throughout the week, but if I didn't drink throughout the week, my Friday and Saturday would look like I drank throughout the week. Cause Saturday one would turn into about 8 shots of whiskey. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm trying to work to get that out of my body and work to get that hangover over and stuff. So my point with that is I'm saying I just wanted to be at a place where I could just enjoy sober living, man, to be around people and just be completely sober and have a good time, and tap into organically who I am without using a substance or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's we all have some type of addiction. We all have something that we depend on or we go to help us feel better based off whatever we're dealing with. Some people get on social media, right? That addiction to social media, it basically it gives off the same endorphins that's released when it comes to alcohol. So you go on social media because you're feeling bad, right? And you scroll through that. And honestly, when you finish, at the moment, it may feel good to be on social media, but after it's done, you may start to feel less than because you just watch all these other people that were so-called living their life, which some of that stuff is just smoke and mirrors, so now you feel less than. Or the list goes on and on, man. Everybody that's listening to this, what that thing is that you do to make you feel better. And then in the moment it makes you feel better, but then later on you feel worse. You know what I'm saying? And that for me, that's what the thing I paid attention to, is just what was I doing at that moment in time that made me feel good, but down the road or later on that day or the next day made me feel worse. So checking your gauges, man, being in tune with yourself and having honest conversations with yourself and having someone that can be honest with you, to just give you honest feedback. If I'm running with people and I'm dealing with people, man, they always telling me how great I am and how awesome I am all the time. Like I need for you to check me and tell me something, dude, that I need to get better at, I need to do. And we have to understand when you have that person that's in your life, that it's coming from a good place. But we need that because at the end of the day, we can't see everything, and we have blinders and we have blind spots.
Yeah. Just to stay on pace with the vehicle referencing, right? You mentioned substance, and using that to make you feel better at the time, right? Sometimes they make little stuff. You can get octane boosters for your car, your fuel system a little off, and get octane boosters, and it'll help it run better for a while. Or your transmission slipping, you can go get some stop slip, right? It'll condition the gears a little bit. For a while, that'll work. But you pouring temporary fixes on it, right? Something that's just gonna help it a little ways along the way. But really, you need to stop by a mechanic and see what's real up, because you probably don't need your transmission rebuilt sooner or later. It's probably shot, right? It's weighing down to where it need to be rebuilt. And when it's finally shot, you can pull as much stop slipping as you want to, right? Once second to third or third to overdrive shot button, I don't care how much stops you pulling, you get it up, the RPMs up where it's supposed to switch. It ain't nothing that'll switch. Then what's gonna happen is you're gonna crash out. That's why substances don't really work, right? The problem is it feel like it's better, but it's still there, and it's still gonna get worse because you're not really addressing what it is. You're pouring something on it, right? So another thing about the gauges, with the exception of your gas hand, right, and probably your washer fluid, if you notice, most of your gauges, when your car is running like it's supposed to be running, sit about dead in the middle, right? Balance. That's what checking your gauges gets you back to doing, right? Gets you back to making sure you're pretty much balanced. If you think about your temp gauge, usually summertime it's a little closer to half, wintertime it's a little back from half, but it's usually right between H and C. Transmission temp, you want it right there. Battery, you want around 14. Your tire pressure, you want it at the sweet spot because it can be too low or too high. Too high, it causes to explode. Too low, it ain't gonna ride just right. You want to kind of balance, kind of in the middle. That's one thing we all shoot for in life, and for every single person. This is the thing. Your gauges are unique to you, because for every single person, that means something different. Edgar's tire pressure on his truck versus the tire pressure on mine, because I got a whole nother set and size of tires on it. It's going to be a little different, right? So what he talked about earlier, what you watching this social media and stuff, and you looking at these people, and, oh, they're on vacation here and they're doing this, that, and the other, and you thinking that's what I want, may not be for you, because that may not be how your vehicle run. And I said it earlier, it's 7 billion, give or take, people on this earth. That's 7 billion different vehicles, different worlds, different sets of gauges, right? Nobody's is alike. So that's something else we always preach on is you playing that comparison game on social media or watching TV or whatever it is. Don't do that, because you don't know what that person's going through. That person might be 10 minutes away from suicide for all you know. Look happy, look great, right? But they doing the same thing you did, right? They riding around and they know goodness well this gauge been going off for 10 months. It's been dinging. Man, I need to go get that fixed, but I ain't got time, right? I ain't worried about it. I can keep going. Then boom, your engine explode, right? In the middle of the highway. And it's bad because you kept pushing it off because you want everybody to think you got it all together. That's what Edgar talks about, having somebody to give you that honest opinion. Sometimes we can work on our own stuff, right? Edgar and I do it all the time, right? You need to change the little headlight or tail light out. I'm gonna go on YouTube, right? I'm gonna go buy the light from AutoZone, get my little tools out. Let me see how they worked on this and get it done. But if I'm having engine failure, especially on these newer vehicles, I can't work on that, right? Now, do I want to take to the dealership? Maybe. They might ring me though. What I do, I usually get online and start searching, see who got the best reviews, take it over there. They don't know me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know them. Let's see if they can give me a good, honest opinion on what I really need. Because a lot of times you can tell if they don't get it. They'll tell you, well, you'll tell them what you think it is, and what you think it is might be a $3,000 fix. And it may only be something they got to do for $500. They're going to tell you that ain't what you need. You need this way cheaper, blah, blah, blah. Get that honest opinion. What does that look like in our world? We're talking about therapists. Maybe it's somebody who's been through a like situation, who's overcome it. Maybe it's that friend that you can call and talk to. But a lot of times you need to have somebody versed in that can help you through that, because we can't work on everything by ourselves, right? And I think that's what Edgar's trying to get y'all to see. The only way you can really keep up with that is checking those gauges, paying attention to them. Because a lot of times you can catch it, right? My dad had raised me to look at the gauges. So if I get in that truck and I see it's kind of running a little bit hotter than usual, I probably need to get some. I need to check my coolant. It's a list of things you go through first, a list of checks you go through. And if you can't find out what it is, man, why am I depressed lately? I can't figure out. I'm checking my gauge, everything. You probably need to holler at somebody. It's probably something you to suppress or you hadn't dealt with, you know what I'm saying, from way back. You need to talk to somebody about it and get that in the clear. Because this is the thing. You can't pour stuff on it. You can't get by without getting it fixed. But I'm telling you, sooner or later, it's going to blow up. And what's going to happen is it's going to affect something else in that system, in that total system, right? Car start running hot. Ain't no water in it. It ain't cooling the engine. You get cracks in it. You blow rings. You know what I'm saying? Now, what would have just cost a little bit costs a lot, or you got to scrap this whole thing and get something new, right? You don't want it to be that. Checking those gauges, like he said, can help you keep track of stuff, and you can kind of knock out problems before they get too big, right? Because you can see them coming. The gauge is there for a reason, to let you know, right? Everything operating. And then, like he said, it also makes you give yourself a self-assessment. And if perspective is the only thing we really own, and self is the only thing we're really in control of, it would be advantageous to always worry about self more than others, right? My boy P and I, we always talk about, and it's easy to do, we talk about how much our society watches other people be successful while we doing nothing. So you think about how much time you'll set aside to watch a game or watch this show. Like, you got all this stuff you need to be doing, but you're like, nope. You make a priority. 6 o'clock, all this got to go away so I can watch this, right? So I can watch these people. Boy, you seen Denzel and this new this or that? Boy, you seen what LeBron did the other day? It's cool. It's entertaining to watch it, but not if you're not hitting the goals you want to hit. You probably don't need to be spending a bunch of time, or you don't need to be abandoning what you're trying to do to watch these other people be successful. Because when LeBron playing in the game, he entertaining you. That's part of his success. Everybody on the court, they doing what they supposed to be doing to be successful. You not, you watching. And we'll abandon everything we got going on to make sure we watch it. I can't miss this, it's coming on. Right? Nowadays, it ain't no excuse. You got on demand. Right? Me personally, I like to watch Skip and Shannon and just see the highlights. Listen to them talk. What I figured out though is I'm trying to get into the podcast game, right? Me and Edgar sitting here talking right now. So me watching Skip and Shannon, I'm actually taking stuff from them too, trying to learn, right? I listen to podcast stuff all day now because that's what I'm trying to do. That's what we're trying to do. So if you can flip it to use to your advantage, I say do it. But don't be careful. Just don't get caught up in watching everybody else be successful at what they're doing and you abandon what you're supposed to be doing just to watch it. Because that's really a thing. We really do it. When I used to call Edgar in the league and say, hey man, you saw Jones Drew hit Sean Merriman today? He'd be like, nah. And then I have to think, well, hell nah, he didn't see it because he was playing the game. He was busy doing what he had to do to be successful. He ain't had time to watch them. Wasn't really watch too much ESPN because he was jumping back into work mode after that. So that's a good one, Edgar. Check those gauges, know what they're there for, and try to head off into problems before they grow into big problems that you just can't fix. Right? It's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a lot of time and energy, damn the money part, a lot of time and energy and other people's time and energy to fix you when you could have just headed it off by checking those gauges. So that's a good one.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. I ain't never seen the gauge that live, man.
No.
You know, I can't think I've seen one.
Unless the fuse gone out and it just ain't doing nothing. But it usually ain't gonna lie to you. It ain't gonna lie to you.
No, it ain't gonna lie, you know. So yeah, man, just check your gauges, man. Just check your gauges and that's the I think it's the thing we all need to focus on, man, because it's easy to give our attention to so many other things, man. It is, you know, it is a lot that's going on in this world, man. There's a lot that's going on, and we have become experts at being distracted, you know, being distracted by so many things, and the thing is, like, you know, when you hear this, let me see what the definition of distraction is. What is it? A thing that prevents someone from giving full attention to something else. So, like, you know, at the end of the day, man, we're really good at being distracted with a lot of different things. And the thing is that that's why like now when I work out or early in the morning, man, I really try to spend time with myself. I think that's the power in meditation. I think that's the power in being able to be by yourself with no music, nobody talking, just really being able to be in peace and quiet. Because when you're in that element, it really gives you a chance to pay attention to what's going on internally. It helps you to be honest with yourself. And I have found that through that, I have came up with more answers and potentially some solutions to some things I was dealing with just through that time with being by myself and putting everything down. Now I like my music, but whether it's some good gospel music, some blues, and we listen to some B.B. King all day long. But truck and I just need peace and quiet. I just need quietness, man. Because it helps me, it allows me to be able to just shut things off, to be able to get a peace of mind. At the end of the day, too, man, that's the other thing, right? Being able to get a peace of mind. Just peace. Peace is important in life, man. To be able to create and do things that give you peace in life, where you can just relax and be able to chill and not have that overbearing worry of everything else that's going on. Now, there's certain things that you cannot control. So like, that's why I don't get too wrapped up in the news and social media, because if I do, what I've learned from me is that if I'm giving my attention to that stuff solely a lot, it causes like a very high anxiety for me. Before I know it, I go on the internet and buy like another 1,000 rounds of ammo. I buy MRE, stuff like that. Dude, I can get loose. Like, I think those things has its pros and its cons to it. You know what I'm saying? But I know when I'm totally indulged in that stuff and watching news and watching social media, man, when I'm done, dude, and I get off, I have like a real high anxiety, uncertainty, and like worry and like all these fears, and like, man, we weren't created. God didn't create us for that. You know what I'm saying? To be in a constant state of mind of worry and fear all the time, all the time. And my point with that is, being able to just control what I can control, So if I know there's things I'm dealing with, maybe from a house standpoint that's going on, that's got me, worrying. Maybe it's some things I can't take care of right now that's giving me some worry and fear. But I don't want to keep adding worry and fear to my plate by getting on my phone and going down another rabbit hole of some stuff I cannot control. So it goes back to like, what can I control in this moment? Like, what can I control? And to me, dude, being able to have control over your peace, as far as you do control the information you take in. That's one thing I will say. I mean, we can go all day about what you can and cannot control, but one thing I do have control over is when I pick up that device, what I decide to watch, what I decide to listen to, and what I decide to take in. And all those things that I watch, listen, and take in will affect my internal as far as how I feel. You just cannot get away from it. If I go to Popeyes right now, I love some Popeyes chicken, but if I get me a 4-piece with that biscuit and gravy, Jack, there's going to be some problems about 20 minutes. Because I know like it may look good, right? It look good on the front end. It tastes good, but I know on the backside there's going to be some problems, man. So it's going to come out, man. So control that, dude, as far as what you taking in, what you observing, what you watching, and more importantly, who you talking to, So that's all I got, man.
Yeah, man. You said a lot. We're at full capacity all the time. First of all, I forgot to say it earlier, but congratulations on your 75 days sober. And by the time this come out, we'd have added 10 days or so to it, 7 days to it. So it'll be 82-ish by that time. But anyway, congratulations on that. And you talked about how you put things into place that goes back to an episode, we already had, entitled Full Capacity. Since we are always at full capacity, you prune something back, something else gonna grow in this place, right? You just make sure what you let grow in this place is something good, right? And when we are spending time with self, like you talked about, in my mind, we're strengthening our root system, right? We're digging our roots deeper and deeper into the ground. It's gonna help us stand all this outward stuff that comes to us from the world. And like you said, you don't want to go and add stuff to what's coming against you from the world anyway. Because sometimes, so this could be a whole nother episode, sometimes everything is okay. There ain't nothing wrong with it. Sometimes everything is exactly how it's supposed to be. Let it be, right? Because we'll have those times where oh Lord, but in my life, something always come up, let me look for it. No. Be okay. Spend time being okay. Trust me. Balance is a law that cannot be transgressed. So for all the good days you have and all the stuff that's going good, it's going to be some meant for bad that's going to come to you. Don't worry about it. It's coming. You ain't got to focus on it though. And you don't have to, again, I'm going to repeat this. You don't have to play that comparison game, right? And if your roots are strengthened, Right. This is why you don't play the comparison game, right? You looking at everybody else and you thinking, man, them trees tall and nice and they standing strong right now and they're thriving, right? And I'm not. I'm leaning, right? Because you playing the comparison game and you looking at them. It's an old African proverb that says the leaning tree is not always the first to fall, right? And in fact, most of the time, if a tree's leaning, the only thing holding it up is the root system. His root system probably going a few miles, right? Because some tried to knock it down, but it's still upright, right? And what you'll notice is if you are really into self, those trees that you thought was thriving, sometimes they'll call you and need you, right? Because you're looking at it on the internet and you're thinking, man, everything was great, but that's just what they want to put off to you, right? They want to put off that everything's good, but a lot of times it ain't. A lot of times it ain't all what you think it is, right? That's why it's extremely important. You won't know one way or another. That's why it's so important to just be extremely sure about self. Be extremely aware of what's going on in your world and what you need and strengthening your roots, right? Not nobody else's. Build your foundation, right? Make sure you're standing on something solid. Build your hopes on things eternal. And understand just how important you are to your world, right? You're the most important thing in it. Because it don't exist without you, right? Your perspective, your world, right? Be engaged with that first before you start engaging all this outward stuff. Don't pour on extra stuff you don't need to pour on, right? Sometimes everything's all right and it's okay. It's cool to be okay, right? You don't have to go looking for nothing to add nothing to it. Just be okay, man. That's really all I got for today. Mr. Jones, you got anything else?
Nah, man. Just check the gauges, dude. That's it.
Hey, check the gauges. More work at the top. Build your foundation. Don't be a victim. Keep going, keep growing, keep evolving. It's the Lit Code, and we are out.